and whether early Mars may have had life.
So where are you targeting on Mars for this?
We're going to a crater called Jezero Crater, but it's really right at the ancient shoreline of Mars. And so there's a river, an ancient river, bringing material from large regions on Mars into this crater and depositing a delta and then flowing over the crater wall into the ancient ocean.
Wait, Jim,
Wow.
there's no water on Mars now. So what are
Not
you
at the
talking about?
moment, but in the past,
In the past.
in the past, now it turns out Mars does have an enormous amount of water. It's just locked underneath the surface and in the northern polar cap.
But what you're describing as this target is
Yeah.
a place where formerly water was just there.
Right, 4 billion years ago.
And you're going for beachfront property.
Yeah, and you know why? It's really, we think about life coming out of our ocean onto land, learning how to evolve and live on the land. And so that ancient shoreline is where a lot of our missions go.
Gotcha. So now, where is the atmospheric generator buried deep inside of Mars? Where would that be?
Chuck wants to move there. Chuck wants to buy property on that beachfront.
Listen,
Chuck
right.
wants a condo.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen, you know what they say? Buy on the fringe and wait.
Okay.
You may have to ask Arnold about where he'd find it there. But,
Arnold.
Exactly.
Arnold. Send you back to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars.
Wait, so if this is styled like Curiosity was,
Yes.
does that mean it will arrive at Mars the same way Curiosity
Yeah.
did? And what was that? There was 6 minutes of terror. Will it survive the entry?
Right.
Are we going to watch? We're going to experience that again with this.
We are. We're going to use the same process. If it worked once, and it's not always a guarantee it's going to work exactly the same way, we're going to do that again. And the reason why is this rover is even more massive than Curiosity is. This one is a little more than 1 metric ton.
Wow.
So you're talking
Can
about
I ask you both a question?
Wait, it's the size of a car. You're dropping a car.
That's
Right.
huge.
Okay.
So can I ask you guys a question
Explosions,
when you
don't
talk
think
about
explosions.
dropping this rover down into Mars? Okay.
Yeah.
So when
Very
something
subtle.
enters Earth's atmosphere, it's basically the atmosphere that is the problem because it's a lot of friction, creates all this heat. But Mars doesn't have a lot of atmosphere.
Right.
So what are the big worries and what's
Don't
the
do
big
explosions.
drawback to putting something on the surface of Mars?
Wait, Chuck, I have to correct
back.
you
What the
just
fuck
briefly. You're thinking of the atmosphere as a problem because
I
it
am.
creates heat.
It's not.
However,
Go ahead.
the atmosphere allows you to slow down.
Oh, so atmosphere is brakes?
Out. Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Okay, Jim, take it from there.
All right. So when we hit the top of the atmosphere, we're going 13,000 miles per hour. And when we land, 6.5 minutes later, we've got to be going inches per second.
Wow.
And so we have a lot of momentum to take out. And it starts with the heat shield.
Okay.
And one way to do that is Mars's atmosphere is actually much thinner than ours.
Right.
And so we need to travel in the atmosphere as much as we can. So we change the center of gravity of the capsule. Instead of having it come down straight, we blow some mass, cock it this way, and fly as parallel to the surface of Mars as we can.
Wow.
So without even having atmosphere, you're almost creating like a glider.
Well, the friction indeed slows it down from that 13,000 miles per hour to then about 250 or so miles per hour. Then we change the mass distribution, right it, pop a chute. And that chute then allows us to get it down below 100 miles an hour or so before we drop the rover to the surface.
Okay, now
Hey.
I'm just going to say something. I've never been in
I got him.
I've never been in a collision at 100
And I got
miles an
him,
hour
too.
before.
Sorry.
Because I probably wouldn't be here. So,
That's correct.
so I mean, you say that
Here.
like 100 miles an hour is a fender bender. How do you? What happens? What happens at 100 miles an hour when you hit the ground?
Well, we have a platform that sits on top of the rover. and it has retro rockets. They then take off and slow the vehicle down.
From 100 miles an hour. From
Yeah.
100 miles an hour.
Yeah, from 100 miles an hour, slows it down,
Like
and
the Titanic,
actually
or
stops
whatever
it at about 25 meters from the surface.
Wait, Chuck, just to be clear, they could have done that upon contact with the atmosphere, but it would have needed fuel to slow them down from 13,000 miles an hour. So why not use the atmosphere to take most of that out and save the little bit of fuel you're carrying for just that last little leg? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. And so what will happen then, this platform that sits on top of the rover is called the sky crane. And the reason why is we're going to crane it down to the surface. So as we start the craning, then the fact that we've sort of folded up the rover inside and tucked it into the capsule allows it for the wheels to come out and lock and everything get ready for then the rover to sit down on the surface at inches per second.
So you've got a joist that's unrolling for this thing to descend.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's not. It makes fantastic sense when you think about
But
it.
there's a lot of things. It's like a Rube Goldberg thing. First, you do the hokey pokey. You move the center of mass. You put out the drogue chute. You have the retro rockets. You pop the tires. And I'm thinking, aren't those many points of
lot of
failure?
steps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And we have to test each and every one of them, and then we try to figure out how to test them in between. But because Curiosity landed using that same approach, we have great confidence that we can repeat that, okay? So we'll use the same procedures.
What are these
And so-
images I've seen of something that looks like it's got like drone propellers or something? What is that?
So in addition to the rover, that looks like Curiosity, this huge rover, this little model of it, underneath the
love
belly
them.
pan sits what we
Angels.
call a technology demonstration
Mischievous.
mission. And it turns out to be a helicopter. And it's a counter-rotating set of wings, that then
Rotor
rotate.
blades. Rotor blades.
Blades that rotate more than 3,000 RPM and then takes off.
But
Now, how we do
dimensionally-
that is we first drop it, then we get out of the way, and then we send the command,
We're
take
right
off.
on cue.
That's super cool.
And then, is it going anywhere? Or is this dude going to take
Well-
pictures? Is it?
Yeah, because it's a test. We've never flown
water.
anything in an atmosphere besides the Earth. So this is the first flight of an object.
And you
in
need those
another
high
atmosphere.
RPMs because of the thin atmosphere.
Right, that's right.
So you-
And
to
it's
get the
only
lift.
4 pounds. So it's only lifting a little box about 4 pounds. And so it's going to go through several tests. So the first test is pick up,
I'm
go a
gonna
couple
do 10
meters
minutes.
up, and then come down. That'll be successful. Then we'll charge up the batteries, and the next day we'll do another
Okay.
test. That test will
They're
be
really worried
go
about this
up,
rover.
translate, and then sit down.
Translate is code for move sideways.
Sideways.
Move
yeah.
sideways.
Okay.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Right. I thought it was just going to like start to learn Martian.
Translated to Martian.
Translate. Hello.
Wait,
We come in peace.
So Jim, this mission is
didn't say
you speak of it as though you're just having a conversation with the rover, but there's the time delay of your signal. It's
Right.
like what, 20 minutes, 10, 20 minutes or something?
Well,
on point
for
on me.
Mars, its orbit, based on where Earth is, it can be anywhere from 4 minutes to 22 minutes.
Okay, so you can't just say watch out for the cliff
Right.
and it's too
Oh,
late.
but I've made my
That's
own
right. And so what's happening
I'm
now
three-dimensional.
is we will be about 6
If
or
this is
7 minutes
broadcast
away
later, this
light
is
travel
now, for
time
me,
to
I am
Mars.
looping my own shit.
And so everything's got to be done automatically.
I am other
Okay,
The
dimensional.
whole
so-
entire landing sequence is done automatically.
This is
All
what
right, so
makes me
James,
dimensional.
your professional background, is it from geology or from
Alrighty
astronomy?
then.
I'm a magnetospheric physicist.
Okay. Oh, neither. Okay.
Yeah, so I never met a magnetic field I didn't like.
Wow.
Right on.
Okay. So, so tell me what experiments are on this mission, and then we got to sort of wrap it up after
All
that.
right.
So, what in ranking in your favorite order of what this thing is going to do?
All right, so the core, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 instruments that help the core make the decision. Once
Wait,
it's-
by the way, I'm not a geologist. I keep thinking what the rock is on the surface is probably the same a few inches in, but you're telling me no, the rock could be completely different on the inside. That's what you're telling me.
Curiosity told us that. So when the red Mars is there, and when we took and dug just below the surface, we saw gray Mars.
Oh, because it's not
Entirely
oxidized.
different planet.
It's not oxidized. Oh,
It's
okay.
a different planet. Okay.
Oh,
In
because
a
Mars is red
different
from the
era.
iron oxides. Okay, got it.
Right. So indeed, finding the right spot to core is important. And so the context instruments are Sherlock and Pixel. Those are on the arm. And they're going to do imaging, and they're going to help us decide here's where we're going to go. In addition to that, we have another instrument called RIMFAX. It's from Norway, and it sits underneath the belly pan next to where the copter would be after we drop it. And it is a ground penetrating radar. It gives us stratigraphy. It gives us an idea, hey, this might be a good place to drill. That's important. And then we have, right on the mast, right here at the top, a fabulous instrument called SuperCam, and it is designed to send out a laser, evaporate the rock, get a spectrum, and
That's
help us
a lot
understand
of work.
the composition of the rocks in front of us, and then guide us to where we want to go. That's
Chuck, if Martians are there on the surface and they see this with laser beams coming out of it,
Right.
they're going to think we're declaring war.
Exactly. We no longer come in peace.
That's sort of nice.
We no longer come in peace.
We come here to vaporize you.
Exactly.
Okay.
They may think we're just heating up the place so they can, barbecue out, but that might be a different story.
No, that's bullshit.
Another instrument is MassCam. All right, and this one,
This is not a game.
has a fabulous set of
Not a
cameras
joke.
that sit below SuperCam, and they are at about the height of my eyes, which since I'm 6'4", at about 6 feet. So the stereo imaging we get
Man.